What if you decide you would like to shoot some video and some stills of some beautiful models at one or other studio? What if you were starting from scratch? What if you wanted to organise your very first photo and video shoot? Well, stay tuned and I will explain what you need to do.
Hello and welcome to the Dennis Bloodnok Channel.
Hello YouTubers. Well, as you may have seen from many of my previous videos, I am an enthusiast photographer. Over the last 9 years or so, I have done multiple video and photo shoots with models at a variety of studio and other locations around the UK. And this has been something I have enjoyed greatly. I have picked up a lot of skills with regard to photography and video, and I have enjoyed the whole process. Well, YouTubers, the first thing, if you are starting from scratch, unless you are absolutely loaded with money or you have some very wealthy backer, some sort of organisation or website or magazine or some other entity that has plenty of money to pay for everything, you will be needing to pay to hire the models, to hire the studio, and to pay for anything else. So step one, open some sort of savings account at a local bank, building society, savings and loans company, or some other financial institution. Set up some sort of savings account and make a regular payment into that savings account on such a basis that you don't touch that money, don't touch the money in that savings account for anything other than your photography shoots. Now, next, you will need a camera and a lens. What you also may decide to do as well, as your finances build, you may follow the example that I took. More than 10 years ago now, I began a 1 evening a week basic photography course at my local further education college in the UK. It was only for one term, maybe 12 evenings, one night per week for 12 weeks. But I learnt the basics of photography there. During the time that I was actually doing this part-time course, when I started, the only camera I had was a mobile phone, my trusty Nokia N96. During the time of the course, I purchased a small pocket camera, and then eventually I purchased my Samsung NX10 interchangeable lens camera. And then moving further on, I purchased my Nikon, or depending on where you are in the world, my Nikon DSLR cameras with lenses. But initially, if I were starting from scratch, first three things: set up the savings account and make a payment into it on a regular basis. Then check out the idea of doing some sort of basic photography course at your local college. Thirdly, check out used camera websites and used camera shops in your local area. It's quite easy to find a bargain, but you do need to search. But it is possible to find a camera with a relatively low shutter count, possibly with a lens as well, which you can use for your photography, and it may help you as well to use during your photography course if you undertake an evening part-time course just to learn the basics of photography. Once you have completed your photography course and maybe purchased a camera, you then need to move on to actually planning. What are you actually going to shoot? The worst thing you can do is to hire a studio and model or models and then get there for the start of the shoot, and suddenly when the model says to you, what do you want to shoot? What photographs do you want? You suddenly go, I'm not sure. So, having set up your savings account, started your photography course, and maybe purchased a camera and lens, the next thing to consider is planning your photo shoot. What images are you going to create? You can shoot portraits, fashion, full-length images, glamour. You may decide you wish to shoot nudes. Work out, plan in advance and write it down on a piece of paper or on a document on your computer. Plan out image sequences that you are going to do in your shoot. Once you have got the idea, a rough idea of the image sequences, it's now time to move on to step 5. Now, step 5 is you join a website on the internet, and you can easily Google this, for websites that are for photography, studios, models, etc. There are a multiplicity of websites, and you can Google these, where models, studios, makeup artists, hairstylists and photographers will all have their own account, their own page on the website. And once you are a member of that site, you may have to pay a few pounds or a few dollars per month to be a member of the site. Once you are a member of the site, you can post any images that you have to your page, and you will be able to communicate via a messaging system on that website to anyone who is on the site, such as a model, a studio, makeup artist, hairstylist, etc. You can communicate with those people and arrange your shoot accordingly. If you like what you see on the Dennis Bloodnok channel, please click the subscribe button and please smash that bell button as well to keep you up to date with the latest developments and the latest videos on the Dennis Bloodnok channel. And across the bottom of the screen, the web address of the Dennis Bloodnok Patreon channel will appear. If you would particularly like to support the Dennis Bloodnok channel and to gain access to material which is not available on YouTube, some more Dennis Bloodnok material which is exclusive just to Patreon, then there is no obligation, but check out the Patreon link. And if you would like to make a regular subscription, that would be very much appreciated, and it would keep the Dennis Bloodnok channel in action. Once you have completed the step, which is step 4, which is the plan of your photo shoot, and once you have completed step 5, where you become a member of a website, you move on to step 6, which is the actual planning of the actual shoot itself. You've completed step 4, where you've worked out ideas of what you actually want to photograph. Step 5, you have joined a website. Now step 6, have a look at various pages on that website, or websites plural, and search for the type of studio that fits the requirements of your photo plan, of your photo shoot plan. What do you actually want from the studio? Now, a photography studio, it can be a small industrial unit on a small industrial estate. It can be a stately home. It can be some rooms in somebody's own personal living space, somebody's house. It can be anything. So check out studios and locations for your shoot. What do you actually want? For example, where I live in the UK, within about an hour's drive, there is an old industrial building that has been turned into industrial units for small businesses. Now, one of the it was quite an old manufacturing building. It's got about 7 or 8 floors. It's quite a sizable building, and one of the businesses that has a presence at this location is a photography studio. In fact, the photography studio takes up one entire floor of the building. Now, for size-wise, for how big is the studio, it is getting on for the size of half a football field. And the studio itself, the area, has been divided up into various different alcoves and areas with different decor and different furniture, so that you can create different atmospheres for your different images. There is one area that looks like a lounge, one area that looks like a living room, an area that looks like a library, an area that looks like a 1950s American diner. There is an infinity curve area. There is also a side room which is an office for the guy who owns the studio, a side room which is a changing room for the models, and a further side room which is a bathroom and shower and toilet area. Furthermore, this particular studio has off-road parking for several vehicles. You need to bring into account, well, how are you going to travel to and from the studio, and how are the model or models going to get there? They may need to use public transport, or they may have their own car, and they may need a parking space. So all of these things you need to check out when you communicate with the studio themselves. Furthermore, what lighting equipment would the studio have? And can they help you in setting up the lights? Is there central heating in the studio? If you're going to shoot during the winter and it's pretty cold, you and the models may freeze. So you want decent heating. If you are going to shoot all day, what restaurant or food facilities are there in the immediate area of the studio? All of these things are to be considered depending on how long your shoot is going to be. You have decided to do a photo shoot with a model or models. You have attended a photography course at your local further education college, and you've learned a few of the basics of photography, and hopefully you have gained a taste, an appetite for photography. You enjoyed what you learned at the college course. You have become motivated to do more. You'd like to do photography as a hobby. Next, you have now searched various websites and local shops and stores and purchased an interchangeable lens camera, be it a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, possibly a new camera and lens, or maybe a good quality used camera and lens. You have joined a photography website, the type of photography website that will allow you to contact studios, models, and if need be, makeup artists, hairstylists, and anybody else who's involved with the photography industry. You have now contacted a studio and arranged a shoot. You've contacted the studio that fits your requirements from your plan that you have made for your photo shoot, contacted a studio that fits what you are looking for, and so with the plan written, you have a camera, you have an idea of what you want to shoot, and you have a studio arranged, and you have booked the studio and arranged a price for the hiring of the studio. Most studios in the UK would require you to hire the studio for a minimum of 2 hours. In my shoots, I normally do all-day shoots of 8 to 10 hours, but you can shoot for half a day, 4 hours, or whatever length of time. You've done all of that, you've arranged everything. Now you need to arrange a model or models. So again, you go to the website, or websites plural, where you found your studio, and you search for a model or models, depending on how many you want to work with. What I would look for, most websites, as I say, are for studios, photographers, models, hairstylists, makeup artists, etc. Each person or organisation that is on that website, there will be feedback on that person's page, on that organisation's page, and you will be able to see whether there are positive feedback, a small few lines, maybe a paragraph saying how much somebody else has enjoyed working at that studio or has enjoyed working with that model. Or makeup artist or hairstylist, giving, as I say, some detail of what it is like to work with that person or organisation. What I would say for a first shoot, I would advise that you shoot with one model, but you shoot with a professional and established model, someone who can do the poses that you require for your shoot. I would not advise, if you were in a situation where this was your first shoot, you're still finding your way as an enthusiast photographer, and you need to direct the model because that person doesn't know how to pose. So I would say, as long as you have the budget, bite the bullet and hire an existing well-established model who may charge you more money for doing the shoot, but will produce the poses and the facial expressions that you want for your images. And finally now, step 8. Do your shoot. Create your images and enjoy. A couple of extra tips for you YouTubers. Firstly, when you come to buy your camera, which I am imagining it would be the first time you have ever purchased an interchangeable lens camera, one tip is to go for a camera, for example this Nikon D7000, which has twin SD card slots. The particular advantage is you can set the camera up in the settings option to save your images to both memory cards. So you will have 2 copies of all of your images. So then when you come to copy your images to your computer, if there is any problem with either of the memory cards, you've got a second card as a backup. Now, a further tip or a further point concerns the actual photo shoot itself. Given that this would be your first photo shoot, you may find that the model will ask to have a chaperone present throughout the shoot, present actually with you in the studio. So this is something for you to consider when you are booking the shoot.